Hello, miladies of inestimable value. Two forces that don't beg, bend, or bow. When they collide, the world doesn't explode, it pauses to watch. Most people will live their whole lives without ever meeting their true equal. Psychologists say that less than 5% of the population are wired with the kind of independence and resilience that Sigmas carry, which means the odds of two of them actually crossing paths are slimmer than winning the lottery twice in a row. And yet, when it happens, it doesn't look like fireworks or a fairy tale. It looks like two lone wolves circling the same fire, pretending they don't care who lit it first. A Sigma female meeting her equal isn't some cheesy movie moment where violins play and everything turns into slow motion. No, this is raw, unsettling, and magnetic in ways that can't be staged. It's suspense wrapped in subtlety, a chess match where both players already know each other's moves. And the best part? They're not out to conquer one another. They're out to see if the other can survive without flinching. It's like watching two mirrors stare at each other. Uncomfortable, fascinating, and just a little bit funny, because both of them secretly hate how much they recognize themselves in the other. That's where the intrigue begins. When a Sigma female meets her equal, the rules don't just change, they vanish. Number 1. What scares her most is that she finally wants to stay. For most of her life, the Sigma female has carried a quiet truth inside her. People are temporary, and attachment is a trap. She has built her survival on the ability to walk away without looking back, no matter how strong the pull. Running has been her strength, her shield against dependency, her weapon against control, her guarantee that nobody could ever cage her spirit. But then she meets her equal, and something unexpected begins to happen. For the first time, the idea of staying doesn't feel like surrender, it feels like a terrifying kind of freedom. The realization creeps in slowly, almost against her will. Normally, when someone starts to get too close, she feels the instinctive itch to withdraw. But with him, the usual urge to escape is replaced with a strange calm. His presence doesn't crowd her space, and his absence doesn't wound her pride. He doesn't demand, he doesn't cling, and he doesn't flinch when she shows the edges of her darker self. Instead, he mirrors her independence, and that's what unsettles her most. She isn't used to recognizing herself in another person, especially not in a man who doesn't try to control her, impress her, or fix her. What scares her isn't that he might leave, it's that she doesn't want to. The Sigma female has always believed that needing someone makes you weak, but wanting to stay, when you could just as easily walk away, is a choice that feels far more dangerous. It means she sees value in permanence, not just solitude, and that shift shakes her to her core. She doesn't suddenly become dependent. She doesn't soften into submission. Instead, she realizes that her strength has never been in running. It's in choosing when not to. With her equal, staying doesn't mean losing herself. It means discovering a version of herself that isn't defined by escape routes. That's the paradox that rattles her soul. For the first time, staying still feels like the boldest move she could ever make. And that's why this moment is so extraordinary. When a Sigma female finally wants to stay, it isn't a sign of weakness. It's the rarest proof of respect, recognition, and raw connection she will ever give. Number 2. Her dark side isn't hidden, it's acknowledged. The Sigma female has always known her dark side isn't something the world can easily handle. Most people can tolerate her brilliance, maybe even admire her independence, but they recoil when they catch a glimpse of her colder layers. The part of her that doesn't forgive easily, that sees through manipulation in seconds, that refuses to play the roles society assigns to women. She's learned to hide it, to keep her intensity masked under controlled expressions and silence, because revealing too much always ended with people either fearing her, resenting her, or trying to fix her. But with her equal, everything shifts. He doesn't ask her to dim it. He doesn't mistake her sharpness for cruelty or her silence for emptiness. When she shows him her shadows, he doesn't flinch. Instead, he meets her with a calm recognition, as if he's been carrying the same shadows himself. It's not about tolerance. It's about understanding. He knows what it feels like to be misunderstood, to have layers that most people don't even realize exist. And because of that, he doesn't turn her darkness into a liability. He sees it as part of her wholeness. This changes the game completely. For once, she isn't forced to fragment herself, splitting the acceptable side from the unacceptable. Around him, she doesn't need to constantly edit who she is. Her dark side is no longer a secret weapon or a hidden shame. It becomes acknowledged, validated, even respected. And that's dangerous in the most beautiful way. When someone doesn't fear the parts of you that others avoid, it creates a level of intimacy that is almost unnerving. It's not built on illusion, not on charm, not on performance. It's built on raw honesty. She realizes that he doesn't want the curated version of her. He wants the whole thing, the warmth, the coldness, the brilliance, and the shadows. That acknowledgement becomes the real bond because it tells her she's finally been seen in her entirety, not just the parts that are easy to love. For a Sigma female, that's rare. And with her equal, it's the first time her darkness doesn't feel like a curse. It feels like belonging. Number 3, they create a private language without words. For most people, communication is about filling silence with words, proving interest with constant chatter, and maintaining closeness through endless explanations. But for the Sigma female, words are often overrated. She's always been fluent in silence, able to read between the lines and catch the weight of what goes unsaid. When she meets her equal, this skill doesn't just double. It evolves into something rare, a private language that doesn't need to be spoken aloud. Their connection works on a frequency most outsiders can't detect. A glance at the right moment tells more than a long conversation. A pause in the middle of tension says everything without saying anything. Even the rhythm of their presence, how they walk, how they sit, how they choose to respond or not respond, becomes part of a shared code. Outsiders looking in might think they're distant or detached, but that's only because the dialogue isn't designed for anyone else to understand. This unspoken language isn't about romantic clichés like finishing each other's sentences. It's about efficiency, precision, and the comfort of knowing you don't have to over-explain yourself to be understood. It's almost unnerving how well it works because it strips away all the noise that most relationships get lost in. Instead of using words to cover insecurity, they use silence to reveal trust. Instead of performing affection, they exchange presence as proof. What makes this so extraordinary is that neither of them planned it. They didn't sit down and decide to communicate differently. It just happened because they both operate outside the usual social scripts. And because they're equals, neither one tries to dominate the dialogue or force meaning where there isn't any. Their unspoken exchanges carry weight precisely because they're rare, intentional, and free from the usual performance. The result is a bond that feels almost untouchable from the outside. People may see them and wonder how such little conversation can hold so much meaning. But for them, the silences are never empty. They're loaded with recognition, respect, and sometimes even humor that only they can detect. That's the beauty of it. Two outsiders creating a dialect that belongs to no one else but them. Number 4. The silent standoff becomes the first conversation. When a Sigma female meets her equal, the very first interaction doesn't erupt in fireworks or instant chemistry. It starts with silence. But it's not the nervous, uncomfortable kind most people feel when they don't know what to say. This silence is intentional, heavy with meaning, almost like an unspoken duel. Neither one rushes to fill the gap because they both know words can be cheap, and first impressions aren't crafted through chatter, they're revealed through presence. To outsiders, it might look strange, even tense, like two strangers unwilling to engage. But beneath that stillness, something fascinating is happening. Both are testing each other without moving a muscle. Who breaks the silence first? Who holds their ground longer? Who shows that they're comfortable enough with themselves not to flinch at the weight of quiet? For Sigmas, silence isn't emptiness. It's power. It reveals confidence, patience, and the ability to resist the social pressure to perform. This standoff is their first real conversation, even without words. By not rushing in, they're communicating volumes about who they are. She's saying, "I don't need to chase validation." He's saying, I don't need to prove myself to you. And the beauty is that both recognize what's happening because they speak the same unspoken language of independence. There's no awkwardness, no desperation to impress, just two forces watching each other carefully, waiting to see if silence bends or breaks. And when one of them finally does speak, it isn't out of discomfort, it's out of choice. That small decision gives their first words unusual weight. Every syllable carries more meaning because it comes after a silence that tested both their patience and their presence. That's what makes this moment extraordinary. It's not a conversation in the traditional sense. It's a declaration that both can stand in their own skin without flinching. And that's exactly why the tension doesn't destroy them. It forges the very foundation of their connection. Number 5, respect isn't given, it's stolen. For the Sigma female, respect has never been something she gives away freely. To her, it's not a polite courtesy, not a social obligation, and definitely not something someone can demand. Respect is earned through depth, authenticity, and the ability to stand on your own without leaning on others for validation. That's why most men, no matter how impressive they try to appear, don't get past her filters. They ask for respect without realizing they haven't done anything to deserve it. But when she meets her equal, something different happens. She doesn't have to be convinced. She notices he's already taken it. It's not in what he says. In fact, it's often in what he doesn't say. He doesn't beg for recognition, doesn't posture for attention, doesn't try to prove that he's important. His very presence carries a kind of groundedness that refuses to be ignored. For someone like her, who has mastered the art of self-sufficiency, that's the rarest signal. It tells her he doesn't just operate on the same frequency, he lives there, permanently. The most unsettling part for her is that this respect isn't a choice. She doesn't sit down and decide, all right, he's worthy. It hits her instinctively in the same way she instantly recognizes weakness. His strength doesn't demand her approval, it simply exists, and she finds herself acknowledging it without even realizing she's doing it. That's why the word stolen fits so well. He hasn't asked for anything, yet somehow he's walked away with something she guards like treasure, her respect. This changes the entire dynamic. With most people, she's in control. She sets the terms, she decides the worth, she chooses when to give or withhold. But with her equal, the balance flips. Respect is no longer a gift she doles out. It's a recognition she can't help but give. And that unsettles her more than anything, because it means he's penetrated the one barrier she thought no one could ever cross. For the Sigma female, that's the moment everything shifts. Once her respect has been taken, without force, without demand, it becomes the foundation for something she can't fake, manipulate, or dismiss. It's real, it's raw, and it changes the way she sees him forever. Number 6. Her defenses don't shatter, they rewire. The Sigma female's defenses are legendary. They're not flimsy walls built in haste, but carefully engineered fortresses designed to keep out manipulation, neediness, and shallow energy. Most people who get close to her either bounce off those walls or exhaust themselves trying to climb over them. She's used to that. It's how she maintains her autonomy. But when she meets her equal, something unusual happens. Her defenses don't collapse under his presence, and he doesn't try to storm them. Instead, the structure begins to shift, almost like a fortress quietly rearranging itself to make space for him, without losing its strength. This is where the difference lies. Lesser men often mistake vulnerability as a prize to win. They push, plead, or perform until she gives them a crack in the armor. But with her equal, there's no begging and no performance. He doesn't pressure her walls to fall. He respects them, stands firm outside them, and waits without waiting. That paradox, being there without intrusion, disarms her in ways she didn't expect. For the first time, she realizes she doesn't need to demolish her defenses to let someone in. She just needs to reconfigure them. Her boundaries don't vanish. They adapt. It's not weakness, it's recalibration. The walls shift, not to crumble, but to carve out a space where he belongs. And that's a radical act for someone like her, because she's never made room for anyone without losing a piece of herself in the process. With him, she discovers she can keep her sovereignty intact while still allowing connection. What makes this extraordinary is that he doesn't even notice the architectural shift happening, because he doesn't need to. He's not looking for access like everyone else. He's not interested in conquering her. He's simply existing in his own unshakable independence, and that's what inspires the rewiring. She realizes that strength isn't always about keeping people out. It's about knowing when someone is strong enough to stand inside without threatening the foundation. So no, her defenses don't shatter. They evolve. And in that evolution, she finds a rare balance. Intimacy without invasion. Closeness without collapse. It's the kind of recalibration that only happens once in a lifetime. When she finally meets someone who feels less like a threat and more like an equal force worth making space for. Number 7. Power games collapse before they even begin. For the Sigma female, power games are a familiar battlefield. She's mastered the art of spotting manipulation, decoding hidden agendas, and dismantling attempts at control before they can even take root. Most people don't realize they're playing a game with her until it's too late. They think they're in command, only to discover she's been 3 steps ahead the entire time. But when she meets her equal, the usual dynamics of dominance and submission vanish entirely. The game doesn't just shift, it ceases to exist. With him, there's no bluff to call, no hierarchy to navigate, no subtle tests to pass. Both recognize the mechanics of power too clearly to fall for them. They see the strategies, the posturing, the invisible push and pull that most people rely on to assert control, and they treat them with quiet dismissal. It's almost like 2 skilled players meeting on a board that's already been read and mastered. There's no victory to chase, no ladder to climb, because both already operate outside the conventional systems that demand it. This absence of games creates a rare kind of freedom. For her, it's a revelation. She doesn't have to analyze every word, gauge every gesture, or calculate her next move. She can exist as herself without triggering competitions for dominance. And the unsettling part is that this isn't passive, it's active recognition. He isn't naive, and he isn't compliant. He simply refuses to engage in the theater that everyone else expects. What emerges instead is raw, honest interaction. Conversations aren't debates to win. Moments aren't battles to control. Decisions aren't contests of influence. There's an unspoken understanding that neither one will be manipulated, coerced, or forced into a role. That mutual recognition of strength and independence creates a tension that's magnetic, not confrontational. For the Sigma female, this is extraordinary. She's spent her life dismantling games to protect herself, but now she encounters someone for whom the games are irrelevant from the start. And in that, she discovers something rarer than power. It's trust without compromise, respect without hierarchy, and connection without the need for victory. Number 8. She finally sees her own reflection, and it's unsettling. For the Sigma female, self-awareness is a sharp tool she wields carefully. She knows her strengths, her boundaries, her intensity, and she's used to seeing herself as the standard, the untouchable force others try to measure themselves against. Usually, when she interacts with people, she projects either superiority, subtle detachment, or quiet pity, an invisible shield that keeps the world at a distance. But when she meets her equal, all of that unravels. Suddenly, she's no longer looking down or around her. She's staring straight into a mirror she didn't know existed. In him, she sees the same hunger for freedom, the same relentless drive for independence, the same razor-sharp intellect and intensity that she's spent a lifetime cultivating. And it's unsettling because it's not admiration she feels, it's recognition. Recognition of herself in someone else, someone who hasn't needed to prove anything, someone who embodies the very traits she has always relied on to define her worth. This reflection forces a reckoning. She begins to question parts of herself she's never doubted, the reasons she isolates, the choices she's made to guard her autonomy, the way she measures people's value against her own unspoken standards. He doesn't flatter her or compete for her attention, he simply exists as an equal force. And in doing so, he exposes her own patterns, her own biases, and her own blind spots. For the first time, she's confronted not with the weaknesses of others, but with the hidden truths about herself that only someone equally formidable could reveal. It's both exhilarating and terrifying. She wants to step back, to regain control of the reflection and the questions it stirs. But she also can't look away. There's a magnetic pull in seeing herself fully recognized and fully challenged at the same time. It's a rare confrontation, one that forces honesty not through conflict, but through the quiet, undeniable presence of someone who mirrors her in ways no one else ever could. In that moment, she realizes something profound. Meeting her equal isn't just about connection. It's about revelation. And revelation is far more disorienting than any game, any challenge, or any conquest she's ever faced. Number 9. Attraction isn't about desire, it's about recognition. For the Sigma female, attraction has never been simple. She's long since moved past superficial allure, the flashy gestures, the smooth lines, the easy compliments that most people mistake for charm. Those things barely register anymore. What truly captures her attention, what holds it against her usual instinct to detach, isn't desire in the conventional sense, it's recognition. Recognition is something rare, almost alien. It's not about being impressed. It's about seeing someone who moves, thinks, and reacts in ways she instinctively understands because she herself operates the same way. It's that unsettling moment when she realizes he doesn't just get her, he mirrors her independence, her intensity, her hunger for freedom, and her disdain for pretension. There's no effort to impress, no hidden agenda, no emotional blackmail. He simply exists in a way that feels like home and simultaneously like a challenge. And that's what makes it eerie. She isn't drawn to him like a moth to flame, nor does she feel the shallow pull of attraction most people mistake for chemistry. She's drawn to the reflection he holds up of herself, the traits she's spent years honing, the inner codes and instincts she believed only she understood. Every glance, every gesture, every choice he makes resonates with her own internal rhythm. It's recognition that bypasses words entirely and bypasses desire entirely, at least desire in its usual form. This type of attraction is dangerous because it bypasses her usual defenses. She can't manipulate it, analyze it, or push it away. It doesn't feed her ego or give her a sense of control. Instead, it pulls her into a space where she's forced to acknowledge a rare truth. She has finally met someone who matches her on a level she never expected to encounter. For a Sigma female, this is intoxicating, unsettling, and transformative all at once. It's not lust, it's not infatuation, it's the magnetic pull of recognition, the acknowledgement that someone else exists in a space she thought belonged only to her. That is what makes it so extraordinary and impossible to ignore. Number 10. Mutual curiosity feels like mutual threat. For the Sigma female, curiosity is usually a measured game. She asks questions sparingly, revealing only what she chooses, and even then she gauges every reaction with meticulous care. Trust is earned in increments, and probing too deeply too quickly is a risk she rarely takes. But when she meets her equal, the rules of engagement shift. Every question she asks isn't casual, it's a calculated risk, a subtle probe into his layers, testing whether he'll crack or retreat. And every question he asks in return carries the same weight. Curiosity becomes less about learning and more about measurement, a silent duel where both are constantly assessing what can be shared and what must remain guarded. There's tension in this kind of exchange because neither of them can afford to underestimate the other. Even simple questions carry undercurrents of challenge. A seemingly innocent inquiry about a past experience or a decision is loaded with implications. What does this reveal about you? Am I ready for what I might uncover? Each answer given or withheld shifts the balance slightly, revealing strengths, vulnerabilities, or patterns neither can ignore. What makes it extraordinary is that this mutual curiosity isn't driven by need or desire. It's driven by respect and instinct. Both know that revealing too much too soon could weaken the dynamic, yet neither can resist the compulsion to understand the other. It's a delicate balance, exposing enough to connect, but withholding enough to maintain sovereignty. The tension is palpable because every interaction feels like a negotiation without words, a battle without violence, a game with stakes that neither side fully articulates. And yet, This subtle duel doesn't destroy connection. It strengthens it. Each risk taken, each layer revealed, each moment of mutual assessment creates a profound understanding that goes far deeper than casual conversation ever could. With her equal, curiosity stops being harmless. It becomes an instrument of truth, a mirror, and a challenge all at once. For a Sigma female, this experience is simultaneously thrilling and disarming. She's used to measuring everyone else, but meeting someone who measures her with equal precision forces her to confront herself in ways that are rare, unnerving, and intoxicating all at once. Number 11. She doesn't feel needed, she feels chosen. For the Sigma female, being needed has always felt like a trap disguised as admiration. She's seen it countless times, men who rely on her presence to prop up their insecurities, who mistake dependency for connection, who seek validation at the cost of her autonomy. That kind of attention is easy to spot and even easier to dismiss. It doesn't entice her, it irritates her. She has no interest in being anyone's crutch or trophy. But with her equal, everything changes. Suddenly, the dynamic isn't about need at all. There's no expectation that she will fill a void. No subtle pressure to compromise her independence. No silent contract of obligation. Instead, what she experiences is something entirely foreign and powerful: choice. He engages with her not because he has to, not because he can't survive without her, but because he consciously wants to. Every word, every action, every shared moment carries the weight of intention rather than necessity. And that shifts the entire equation. This is intoxicating for someone like her because it validates her strength rather than threatening it. Being chosen by someone who doesn't need her is far more compelling than being needed by someone who does. It's not flattering. It's profound. It signals respect for her sovereignty, recognition of her value, and a silent acknowledgement that connection is voluntary, not transactional. The subtle beauty of this dynamic is that it frees her from the usual vigilance she keeps over interactions. With most people, she is constantly analyzing, measuring, and protecting herself from being drained or controlled. With her equal, that energy is unnecessary. She doesn't feel a weight pressing down, and yet she feels more engaged than ever. The connection is not a demand, it's a privilege, and both of them understand it instinctively. For the Sigma female, that realization is transformative. She has never been chosen in this way before, not by someone who matches her strength, mirrors her independence, and operates without need. And that is what makes the bond extraordinary. It's not dependency that draws them together, but the rare, conscious decision to engage freely, fully, and without compromise. Number 12. Conflict turns into calibration, not chaos. For the Sigma female, conflict has always been a delicate affair. With most people, disagreements quickly devolve into chaos, misunderstandings, or power struggles. She's used to walking away, cutting ties, or keeping her distance to protect herself from unnecessary drama. But when she meets her equal, conflict transforms into something entirely different. It doesn't spiral into destruction. It becomes calibration. Every clash, every sharp exchange, every moment of tension is less about winning and more about realignment, a brutal but necessary adjustment that keeps the connection functional and honest. With her equal, arguments are stripped of ego and theatrics. There's no posturing, no hidden motives, no attempt to dominate or manipulate. Both parties understand their own boundaries and aren't interested in testing each other for validation. Instead, disagreement serves as a mirror, reflecting weaknesses, exposing blind spots, and revealing inconsistencies that neither can ignore. Each confrontation is like a reset button, forcing both to adjust, adapt, and re-establish equilibrium. It's raw, honest, and unnervingly efficient. The intensity is higher than most relationships because neither is willing to compromise sovereignty for the sake of peace. But that very intensity ensures that what emerges on the other side isn't damage. It's refinement. Every clash strengthens the connection in ways that comfort and agreement never could. It's not about tolerance. It's about respect, recognition, and the shared understanding that the bond is stronger than the turbulence it can endure. What's extraordinary is that this calibration doesn't diminish attraction or admiration. It enhances it. By surviving each conflict intact, both walk away with a clearer picture of the other's strength, resilience, and authenticity. Chaos has no place here. It's replaced by precision. The Sigma female realizes that friction isn't a threat. It's a tool, a way to test limits, refine strategies, and maintain balance without surrendering independence. For her, that's revolutionary. She's never encountered a connection where disagreement didn't risk destruction, where conflict didn't carry hidden traps. And in discovering that with her equal, she finds a rare truth. Intimacy doesn't have to compromise autonomy. It can coexist with independence, and sometimes it's even forged in the fires of tension rather than dulled by comfort. When a Sigma female meets her equal, nothing unfolds like ordinary connection. There are no scripts, no games, no illusions, only raw, unfiltered recognition. Every glance, every silence, every subtle shift in energy is amplified, because neither of them can or will pretend. Her defenses don't crumble, they rewire. Her admiration, usually guarded like gold, becomes a forceful acknowledgement. Her tests, once her secret weapons, lose their power. Conflict transforms into calibration, curiosity into a duel, and attraction into recognition. With him, she doesn't feel needed, she feels chosen. Boundaries don't clash, they interlock. Darkness isn't hidden, it's acknowledged. Words often become unnecessary, replaced by a private language of glances, timing, and presence. This isn't a romance built on convenience or dependency. It's a connection forged in parallel independence, where strength, authenticity, and sovereignty meet and create something rarer than chemistry. Each interaction pushes her to confront herself, to see her own reflection in ways that are unsettling, thrilling, and transformative all at once. The tension, the intrigue, the unspoken understanding. It isn't just magnetic, it's a masterclass in connection between equals. For the Sigma female, meeting her equal is a paradoxical revelation. She doesn't lose herself, she doesn't bend, and she doesn't compromise. Instead, she discovers that intimacy, respect, and alignment can exist without surrender, that admiration can be both weapon and gift, and that connection can be profound even when silence dominates. It's a rare collision of forces that elevates both of them, challenging, illuminating, and transforming in equal measure. When two Sigmas meet, the world around them fades. What remains is not control, not conquest, and certainly not need. It's recognition, respect, and the extraordinary reality that she has finally encountered someone who mirrors her strength, matches her depth, and inspires her in ways no one else ever could. And that is not just rare, it's revolutionary. If you've ever wondered what it's like when a Sigma female meets her equal, you don't want to miss a single moment of this. Hit that subscribe button and join the journey into the rarest, most extraordinary connections you'll ever witness. If this video resonated with you, smash the like button to show your support, and don't forget to comment below with your thoughts. Share your experiences or your favorite point that blew your mind. And if you know someone who needs to see this, share it with them, because encounters like these aren't just fascinating, they're revolutionary. Stay connected, stay curious, and keep exploring the extraordinary world of Sigma dynamics with us.